Hi there and welcome to Yum Paleo. My name is Jack and today I'm going to be making a leek and butternut squash soup. And there's also going to be something extra in there. And I'm going to add, I've got 15 rashers of bacon here. So I'll be cutting that up, frying it up, and that'll be going into the soup. So I'll just run through what I've got here. I've got 2 small to medium sized squash that I've cut up. I've just made them into nice sizes ready to go into the oven. I've heated up the oven to 200 degrees Celsius, so that's 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to drizzle a bit of oil over these now, and then I'm going to chuck them in because these are going to take around half an hour. So while that's in there, I'm going to get started on the leek, and I'm going to put some garlic and the bacon into the pot behind me just to cook away. And then once these are out, I can add the squash into the pan along with 4 cups of chicken stock. Great, so I've drizzled a bit of oil over these squash, and I'm just going to pop it into the oven. Great, so check your time, 30 minutes from now. We're going to take that out, and then we'll take the skin off it, and it'll be ready to chuck into the pot. So for now, I'm going to get started on the leek. So the best thing about the leek is just take the base off, so don't take too much off because you can use most of it. And then go roughly up to around about here. So when the green starts to go really dark, just take that bit off. You can start cutting it into rings, like so. Now I've got 2 leeks here. They're kind of, I'd say medium size. Leeks do vary in size quite a lot. You can get small ones and they can also get very large, so don't get 2 very small ones, just medium size will do for this recipe. Right, I think that'll do. You don't want it too green. I might even actually chop these up into little bits, half them. Now what we're going to do with these, I'm going to do the garlic first in the pan along with the bacon, which I'll be cutting up as well. Then once they're cooked, I'm going to add the leek to saute in the pan as well. Now the leek doesn't take too long, it should take about 5 minutes. And then once that's done, we can add the chicken stock in, and then the pieces of squash. So I'm just going to get a bowl for these leek. So I'll just put it all. Okay, so that's 1 cut up. Let's do the other one. And also what I forgot to say is we're going to use a can of coconut milk as well, which will make it that nice creamy texture in the soup. And at the end we're going to blitz it with a blender. So once it's all nice and soft, it should be quite nice and soft to blend up. And also why I'm putting the squash in the oven is to just help the squash cook through and kind of get the flavors through it, and just to get it nice and soft ready to blend. Otherwise, if you add the squash as it is, it's generally quite dense and it'll be a pain you'll have to wait for it in the pot for ages, and you'll just be, waiting for it to get softer. So that's why it's good to just keep it in the oven while we can get everything else sorted. Okay, brilliant. Now that they're done, just move them aside, and I'm actually going to cut up the garlic now. So I've got 3 cloves of garlic here. And I'll just chop these up into small bits, and then they can go into the pan behind me and just cook away. But I might do that probably about 5 or 10 minutes before the squash is ready to come out. So you don't want it sitting in the pan too long. Okay, so just slice the garlic up into very small bits, just so that it blends nicely within the soup and you don't have large chunks. And then, like I said before, just before the squash is ready to come out, we'll chuck these in the pan along with the bacon, and then we'll chuck the chicken stock in with the garlic, the bacon and the leeks. And then, once we've taken the skin off the squash, we can then introduce that into the mix. And once that's cooked through for a bit, we can then blend it up and it should be ready to go. So it's a very simple dish. And the good thing about it, it lasts for a while, so you can just keep it in the fridge. And it should cater for quite a few people, so you can feed a family with it for a few days. And it's a good winter food as well. Okay, so I'm just going to get this garlic onto a separate plate. Ready for when I put it in the pan. So I'm just prepping everything just so that before the squash comes out of the oven, we can just get it all checked in and it's all ready to go. There's the garlic done. Now what I'm going to do is the bacon. So like I said, I've got lovely free-range pork here, and it's about 15 rashers, so, and they're not the biggest, so just get them and then cut them up into small bits. I'm going to cut them quite small just so that they, when they're in the soup, they're not too chunky. Okay, so I've finished cutting up the bacon now. I'm just going to pop it into this bowl so that we have all of our ingredients just set nicely, ready for when we put it in the pot. So I've got around about another 5-10 minutes for the squash when it comes out, so I'm going to get started on this soon. So I'll see you in a few minutes when there's just a short amount of time left for the squash and we can get started with putting all these ingredients in the pan. So I'll catch you in a minute. Right, so the squash is nearly done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a wee bit of oil into this pot here. And then I'm just going to heat it up for a minute. I'm just going to let that heat for a second, and then what I'm going to do is add the garlic and the bacon, so let them cook through, and when they're finished, then I'm going to saute the leeks in there. And then once the leeks are done, they shouldn't take too long. I'm going to chuck in the 4 cups of chicken stock, and then the squash will be ready to come out, and take the skin off them, and then we're going to chuck that into the mix, let it cook through for a bit, and then I'm going to use the blender and blend it up and add some coconut milk into it as well. So, and then we're done. So it's pretty simple from here on out. It's just chucking everything into a pot and blending it up. So I'll actually add the garlic into the pan now. Great. So I'm just gonna make sure the garlic browns up nicely for a second. Nice. And now I'm going to add all the bits of bacon that we cut up. So this should add a really nice flavor to the soup. Like I said, I don't think you'll have to add any salt or anything to this now because the bacon's has quite a salty taste to it anyway, so, and it should just make it that little bit different to any other normal like pumpkin or squash soup you have, where it's just normally vegetables, and now I've got a bit of meat in there. It should make it really nice. So just make sure you break up all the bits of bacon, make sure they're all cooked through, and once you're happy with it, we're going to check in the leeks. Okay, so I'm happy with the bacon now, so I'm just going to check in the leeks. Now we're just going to lightly saute these leeks. Okay, the leeks should take around about 4 to 5 minutes, so you don't want them going brown or anything, you just want them to go nice and soft, and just make sure they're like cooked through. And once you're happy with that, I'm going to add the chicken stock into it, and then we're going to take out the squash. Okay, so I'm happy with the leek there, and what we're going to do is add the 4 cups of chicken stock into the mix. Lovely. So now what I'm going to do is ready to take the squash out of the oven. So be careful, it's going to be super hot. Lovely. Just move these across. Make sure you put it on a metal surface and not onto a wooden bench or anything. Okay, so what we're going to do now, so I'm just going to get a bowl for it to go into, is we are going to take the skins off the squash. So carefully take these off. Now don't worry if you've got slightly burnt edges on some of them, it doesn't matter at all, it's all going to be blitzed up soon. All we needed to do was get it nice and soft. So I should get a fork for this. So just gently take off that skin. Peels off really nice and easy now that it's been in the oven. Now you can use the skin if you want, it's good for you, but I just feel it might get in the way of the soup. Like you might get bits of skin coming through and it might ruin the texture of the whole meal. So then just put all your pieces into a pot. And just once you've done all this, we can put it into the big pot behind us. Okay, so now I've taken all the skin off the squash, we can get it ready to put into the mix. Okay, so I'm just going to add the coconut milk in as well. So that is 1 whole can of coconut milk. And then just add a bit of heat to it. I'm just going to mix it round slightly as well. Okay, so we're just going to heat this through for a few minutes, just so to get all the ingredients nice and soft within there. And then once we're happy with it, we're going to take it off, and then I'm going to use the blender just to run through it a few times, just to make sure there's no big chunky bits in there. it'll be ready to go. So I'll see you in a few minutes when this is nice and heated up and everything inside looks like it's ready to be blended. Okay, so now that the soup has just been heating up for a while, I'm just going to take it off and I'm just going to blend it through just for a few minutes, and just so you can feel if the chunks have all gone. So just keep blending until it's a nice consistency through there. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. I've just blended it through for a few minutes. And yeah, it looks like all the chunks have been blended up. So what I'm going to do is just serve it up now. Now if you find there's still chunks in there, then just keep blending until they're all gone. But there we have it. So this is my paleo squash, leek and bacon soup. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you for the next recipe.